CL, back with you on this Thursday here in the jeweled cities of the Arklatex. And in with me is one of my homegirls. Yeah, she was right across the, across the city when we were in high school. She was at Fair Park. I mean, for Woodlawn, I was at Fair Park. And, of course, I have a lot of Bird people who listen to the show. And, of course, Woodlawn, Fair Park, and Bird were the big three in this city at that time. And but we have come to an amicable friendship here and all of that. We're not going to have any high school wars. But she is none other than State Representative Dodie Horton. And, folks, let me tell you something. She's working. She's doing a good job. And she is now going to introduce to the floor something that I do believe will be akin to sensible welfare reform for the state of Louisiana. Help me welcome Dodie Horton back to the show. Thank you so much for being here, friend.
Thank you, CL. I appreciate you so very much.
Now tell us about your bill that you are going to introduce to our state.
I'm going to introduce a bill that will require drugs testing for people who are suspicious have being on drugs. To say someone is receiving food stamps or welfare and they've been recently arrested for drug abuse or selling drugs, or something of that nature, or that when they get our Department of Social Services and Children and Family Services get a report that they may be doing drugs. We have to have a suspicion. My bill states that, and then we'll drug test them. And if they test positive for the first time, then they have to enter a drug rehab program and a job skills program.
Are they cut off the system if they're on it? How does that happen?
Okay, well, until they complete the program on the first time, they are, but the child is not.
Right.
In my bill, the benefit follows the child, and that's my heart. I do not want any of our children to go to bed hungry.
Right. And that's, you know what, Dodie? I'm glad that you said that, because so many people, the knee-jerk reaction that they were going to have about what you have said, hey, they got to pass the drug test and all this, and you got to take them off there until they pass the drug test. But the child is not affected as far as the funds, or at least the feeding and the care for the child is concerned.
Correct, and I know that's a bipartisan heart.
Right.
Of the legislature.
It should be.
It should be. And I know that's the feeling of the taxpayer citizens as well, because taxpayers don't mind helping anyone in need, but we do believe they should have personal accountability in that. And you're a parent and you're on drugs, you're not feeding your child, you're selling those benefits.
You know, I think what you're doing, too, is giving them an opportunity to clean it up.
Absolutely. We want to give people hope in the future so that they can have an opportunity to work and have pride about what they do and get off of government assistance. We as Republicans, and really I believe the American way is to do more for self and depend less on the government. That's the socialist way.
Yes, indeed.
We don't want to cripple anyone.
Yes,
we
indeed.
want everyone to be able to live free, earn a living, and depend less on government.
And you know what, Dodie, when I look at how big government treats people who have been codependent upon government programs, I also see that there is some, especially progressive liberals, Democrats, who want them to stay in that vicious. You're actually breaking a cycle that has been around since way back in the Johnson administration. Was that the intent? And give us some of the nuts and bolts and some of the meat
yes,
of that.
Sir. It is my intent. I just got the statistics, and we have almost 1 million people receiving food stamps in Louisiana.
Wow.
Which was more than I thought.
Wow.
But we have just over a little over 10,000 receiving welfare. I thought it would be the opposite. And a lot of times people try to make it a black and white issue, a race issue.
Yeah.
To me, hunger has nothing to do with race. I would like to see that box taken off the application.
You know what? I want to stop. I want this to soak in. This got to soak in, because I'm like you. I was of the impression that that statistic would be reversed. I would think that there were more people receiving welfare in the state of Louisiana, more like 1 million.
I agree.
Than a million people receiving food stamps, which actually can be much more costly.
It is costly, and it's people who are on drugs or have issues, they sell their food stamps 50 cents on the dollar. And we have someone asked me, well, you need to increase the penalty. The penalty is high enough. And I don't see increasing penalties making our prisons any less full.
So if a person's getting, let's say, $200, $300, $400 food stamps, they can sell that $400 worth of food stamps for $200 and have the cash to feed the drug habit.
Absolutely.
So basically, what you're doing is subsidizing the drug habit when you have people who are on drugs who are receiving food stamps.
Yes,
And you're
sir.
talking about over 1 million people.
Yes.
Whew, that's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money, and it's a lot of children being neglected.
Yeah.
And I just can't live with that.
You mentioned something about this once you introduce it. And Dodie, we're going to be here to help you fight the idea of this being some type of racist bill, because it is not. Let me tell you, folks, let me tell you why. And then we're going to throw back to Dodie. If you're out there right now, and I have all kinds of listeners, red, yellow, black, and white listeners, and you're thinking, well, this is something racist. This is something conservative. No, it's not. Let me tell you why. Because you're presupposing that most of the people who are receiving government assistance or receiving food stamps even happen to be are black. That's not the case. That's not the case. That's fake news. Matter of fact, that would be fake news. So this bill has no color. This bill has everything to do with fiscal responsibility. And Dodie, you're doing exactly what we sent you down there to do.
Thank you so much, sir. I do want to be. We are responsible and accountable to the taxpayers. And I again, it's about the children. But I did get the statistics, and it really surprised me in Bossier Parish that we have only a few hundred shy of being equal amount of Caucasians and minorities on receiving SNAP benefits.
Wow.
Now, why is that? I believe it's back to what you were talking about earlier, single-family homes.
Yeah.
People need help, and we want them to receive the help.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they need to be accountable for it. And so that's what, and our current law states that our Department of Children and Family Services must implement a drug screening program, but it's never been funded. So with my bill, the person who is, we think they're suspicious reasons why we need to have them drug tested, they have to pay for that test. If it's negative, we'll reimburse them. But if it's not, then we have a 1, 2, 3 strikes you're out sort of.
There are
system.
lessons to be learned here from what Dodie is trying to do. You know what? I like it. I like it. Going to help you push it.
Hey,
Gonna
I
help
thank you
that.
so much. Cause,
I like it.
We got to help our children.
We're going to be back with more with Dodie Horton when we return. I'm CL. And let me tell you something, folks. These types of bills are definitely things that we must consider to heal ourselves here in the state of Louisiana. I'm CL. Be right back. All right, Louisianians, here we go. And all the rest of you throughout the nation, I want you to understand that Louisiana has an opportunity now with work like Dodie Horton. Now you got me doing it, Michelle. Our state representative Dodie Horton is up to here in the state. We have an opportunity to be the greatest comeback state in the country. Why? Because, Dodie, you and I were talking about this through the break. Louisiana, unfortunately, is known in the country as a poor welfare state. I believe what you are doing has all of the earmarkings of turning that around by making our people personally responsible to themselves. On the line with me now, who we have? John. On the line with me now is John. John, thank you for listening. Thank you for calling. You have a question or a statement to make to Representative Horton. John? Uh-oh. He's not. He's there, but he's not there. Okay. Tell him to hold on. Okay. We'll come right back to you, John, in just a minute. Listen, Dodie.
Yes, sir.
We have an opportunity to turn our state from a state that is known as a poor welfare state simply by implementing some of the things that you are talking about here. Is that a part of the goal as well?
It is part of the goal, is to break the cycle of government dependence, to give people pride once again in working and having a way to escape. And I believe it comes with accountability. But again, my heart is for the children. Our faith-based community feeds over 1,400 children right now in Bossier Parish through Bel Air Baptist Church. They have filled the backpack so the child won't go hungry over the weekend. Why? I'm not saying that all these families are on food stamps and their children are going hungry because of that, but at the same time, the statistics have showed us that the families do have benefits and that their children are going. It's just hunger. I want to fight that, and at the same time, I want to help people who have drug addiction problems and help them, have a life and be the parent that they want to be.
Speaking of Bel Air, let me ask you about this. Bel Air, is Pastor Randy still over there?
Yes.
Great guy.
Yeah,
Met him years ago now, and he's doing a fantastic job.
He's very passionate about that mission.
I want to have him on the show. In fact, Pastor Randy, if you're out there listening, you know that I'm going to go to John now. Question for Dodie. John, thank you for listening. Thank you for calling. What's on your mind?
I'm a compassionate person, and I'm conservative. Been listening to your show for a long time, and I'd like to ask Ms. Horton if she could explain to me. I've got to kind of go with the theoretical because I don't know the exact amounts of benefit cut. But in the instance that the adult in the household has an incident, fails a drug test, whatever, and say y'all cut their benefits by half, what does the state intend to do to make sure that the benefits that go to the child actually go to the child, since the adult would still be responsible for divvying out
Dodie?
money, if you will?
Oh, great question, John, and I appreciate you calling in. There'll have to be another guardian named to be responsible for the child, and the benefits will. The same amount of benefits will go to that guardian on behalf of the child. The benefits in my bill will not be cut. And so the temporary parent, if you will have to go through the same screening as the person who
Okay, so
is
like
in
a
drug treatment.
grandparent or like a government employee?
It could be a foster parent. Now, if it's a foster parent, they're already proven to be fit. Then they won't have to go through screening. If it's a grandparent, we will not make the grandparents go through screening. We have assistance for them in a separate fund. But if it's someone that the parent who's on drugs, the father, say there's a father and mother in this family, if the father's found to be on drugs, then the mother will be the head of household then, and she will go through the same screening, but the benefit remains the same, and that's key to this bill. And to me, it's key that the benefit follows the child.
That's a good approach to that. John, what do you think of that approach?
What do you think, John?
I'm honestly concerned of spending the money in the first place on the conservative side of things.
Right.
I want to help everybody out. honestly seems to me like it would be really hard to enforce, because the same person who would have their end of the benefits cut, sorry about that,
Yeah.
that would have their end of the benefits cut would still
But now,
be in direct control of what happened to the child.
let me ask you this. You do agree that something has to be done. Is that right?
Yes.
Something has to be done. And now, when we look at this person being put in the state of rehabbing, they're having to rehab in order for their life to be normal again. Then that control, I think there has to be some oversight. And of course, Dodie, you're going to work out all of the bugs and the bells and whistles as far as is concerned when
Yes,
it comes
sir.
to the floor.
What I'm giving you is an overview.
Is an overview of what we need to do.
Right, and the person that would be identified to take care of the child, they're kind of called a substitute protective payee. The child would go into someone's protective care, and the benefit would go to them. And so I am going to meet with the department heads on the 19th of January. We're going to sit down and look at every technical approach, because this bill will pass the constitutionality requirements that it must be able to become law. Whether we get it through or not, I don't know. But I can't sit back and do nothing.
You can't sit back. Yeah. John, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for calling, John. And Dodie, it is, now you're going to have these public forums.
Oh, absolutely.
You got to have these public forums so that people like John and whomever else may be out there can come and talk to Representative Horton about this. But what I like about what you're trying to do is that you're trying to do something about it.
Yes, I believe putting feet to your prayers.
You got to do it.
You have to.
Dodie, I want to thank you for being here with me.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor. I cannot believe somebody like me is sitting with C.L. Bryant. I mean, trust me, I'm the least of these, and I thank you for this opportunity. I praise God for your ministry.
Bless the Lord, and all glory to God. We will be right back with more of the C.L. Bryant Show in just a minute. Don't go anywhere. I couldn't let you get out of here, Dodie, without asking you about the vacated seat of our good friend, yours and mine, Mike Johnson, who is now serving us in Washington, D.C., and he's going to do a good job up there. I just know he is.
I'm so proud of him. I've been a fan for a long time. His father was a firefighter with my husband, and a great man, and raised a great son. And Mike, how can we get better than Mike Johnson?
We can't get any better. In fact, I have all these visions of what Mike's going to do.
Me too.
He's the real deal.
He is. He is.
Yes.
He's a brother in Christ. He's just a wonderful husband and father and friend and godly man, and he's going to be great for Trump.
So we cannot fill that seat with just anybody.
No, sir.
It's like trying to fill Antonin Scalia's seats on the Supreme Court. And folks, listen, you may think that I'm kidding, but Mike Johnson is just that caliber of person. That's what we have. I wanted to see him go to Washington. I really do, but I hated to lose him here in Louisiana. And to fill his seat in District 8 is not going to be an easy task, is it, Jody?
No, and I need a conservative partner. And District 8 and 9 are two of the most conservative parishes in this state. We want less government intrusion in our lives and less taxes. We want to live free and be able to be entrepreneurs and to have our businesses thrive. And we stand on these Republican principles. And Mike was one of our leaders, and he's missed, but I knew that we had him for a short time, and we were blessed. He made his mark, and I need someone to pick up that cross and go with me and fight the fight.
And folks, now listen, all you voters out there, you hear what Dodie has just said about that. We had a staunch Christian conservative in District 8. District 8, I know you're listening. District 8, we had a staunch Christian conservative who was a strict constitutionalist as well. And you now listen, you cannot go to the polls and replace that man with somebody who's less than. Are you hearing me? You cannot go to the polls and replace Mike Johnson's seat with somebody who's less than Mike Johnson. Let him be at least as good as Mike Johnson. I think would be. In fact, if he's, let's say, 75%, or he or she is 75% as good as Mike, I think we might be able to live with that.
Yeah. Oh yes. Mike is definitely anointed, and we were blessed to have him for the short time that we did. But yes, there is someone out there. I know there's going to be several people get in the race. I'm not sure who all will, and I know that District 8. These voters, they're very wise. They'll choose the right person.
And you know what,
just
Dodie?
Please go vote.
Right now, I think, and this is what we have to watch out for as conservatives, as Republicans, as Christians, because there are a lot of people who want to be in positions that they only want the position in name only. You and Mike, I remember when y'all was running, you and Mike, I knew that if you got into office and if Mike got into office, y'all were there to do something about it, about what was wrong in the state. We have to keep our eye out for people who are not there for those purposes, for people who are there just to wear a title.
I appreciate you, CL, because it's about the people.
Yeah.
You know, it's the government of the people, for the people, and by the people. And you're not, it's why you're there. And so everyone will have the same freedoms, not just a select few. That the left and the right and the middle can all have the equal constitutional representation. That's what Mike fought for.
Yeah. And that's what you're fighting for.
That's it.
And I really appreciate. Listen, you're doing a good job down there. If ever I can be of assistance to you, you just let us know. You always have airtime. Okay, you always have airtime.
Hey, you're the best, CL. Thank
Listen,
you.
God bless and God keep you. Dodie Horton, state representative here out of Bossier Parish, and I certainly do appreciate her work. And yes, we do need to look toward who we will replace Mike Johnson with. And I'm going to tell you again, that just can't be anybody. All right, you heard me. And so there is. Now coming up, we're going to be talking about decriminalization, what that means. Okay? There is something that has occurred in California that you need to be privy to, because it can be a poison that sweeps across this nation. They haven't legalized teen or underage prostitution in California, but they have decriminalized it. Now, I'm going to have an attorney on with me here in the next hour, after the top of the hour. Going to have an attorney on with me to talk about the meaning of decriminalization. And I want you to think about this before we start talking about this. What if, let's just say, and in California's case, we're talking about Jerry Brown, Governor Jerry Brown, signed a bill, Senate bill, I think it was 1322, Senate Bill 1322, which decriminalizes teenage prostitution in California. Now, the author of this bill says, well, it's not legalization. But I want you to think about this. What if the governor of this state said we're going to decriminalize drunk driving? What does that mean? What does it mean when you talk about decriminalization? We're going to talk about the legal points of this when we return on the other side of the break. America, we're constantly faced with this question: what next? And we forget from time to time, year to year, just how our society is crumbling in front of our eyes. And what do we do about it? What are you prepared to do about it? Because something has to be done if we are to preserve the republic. We are rotting from the inside out. America, to a lot of people, still looks like that shining city on the hill, but not if we continue down this road. We will rot from the inside out. Be back to talk about it in just a little bit. I'm CL.
That talk about unintended
Broadcasting from the Bayou State and all around the Gulf Coast and streaming nationwide. This is the C.L. Bryant Show.
All right, we're back, and there is something that we need to pay attention to, and it is something that can, in fact, creep across the rest of our nation if we're not careful, if we're not vigilant, like Thomas Jefferson told our nation to be. He warned the coming nation of America. He warned us that the price of our freedom would be, the price of our liberty would be eternal vigilance. We have to watch out for those things that could cause it to crumble. Now, there's something that has happened in California. There is a bill, a Senate bill 1322. What it does, it decriminalizes prostitution for minors by preventing law enforcement from arresting people under 18 for soliciting sex or loitering with intent to commit prostitution. Now, the defenders of this bill are saying that this is not legalization, it is decriminalization. And I have on with me now, Mark, I want you to give us the definition of what, and thank you so much for being there, Mark. Thank you so much for being on the show here with me. I whenever a good friend I call, and he said he would help me out here, I need you to explain to our audience what decriminalization actually amounts to. What is that?
Good evening, CL. Well, it's really a pretty straightforward. It has to be legislative. It can't just be. It's not prosecutorial discretion. I remember some months back when you had some candidates on for DA, and one of them said that he was going to no jail time for this, that, and the other involved in marijuana. He was obviously pro decriminalization, but he doesn't really have the discretion to do that. It has to be an act of the legislature, and in 21 states have what they call decriminalize it, and that generally means no arrest or prison time or a criminal record for a first-time possession of a small amount of, in the case of marijuana, which is what we're talking about first. Now, you talked about it leading into other things, first time. And what people need to understand is the only way they can know if it's your first time is they do keep a record. And even if things are what they call expunged, where your record is expunged, well, they still are going to know if you like 3 strikes, you're out. It can still count against you on that, even though it's been not charged, no jail time, no record, and even expunged. There is a record somewhere, just like
there
the
has to be.
System. Right.
There's a paper trail.
So when they pull you over and you got no conviction, but there is going to be a record that you've been arrested, and you can get arrested for the second time. So in marijuana, it's not made legal. It's just they've reduced the penalties, and so to where there's no teeth to it. It doesn't, and they're trying to make it to where people who are what they call recreational users. But the fact that it can be multiple means, well, you got a serious problem, and that's kind of playing into the addiction issue. Yeah. Because if you get arrested once, you're eventually going to get arrested a second time if you're carrying it around with you.
And so,
now, eight states have actually legalized it, right? Which means and that you could actually grow it. And by the way, of the 21 states that have decriminalized it, 15 of them are blue states, and 6 of them are red states. So it tends to run with the current social walls and barriers and segregation that this country is getting that's following these elections.
So when we talk about decriminalization, we are talking about an offense where they're not going to slap the cuffs on you if, in fact, you are caught doing it.
Right, and there's so many things in government where the teeth are taken out. They make something illegal or wrong, but then there's no enforcement mechanism, because enforcement is one half, if not more, of the law. And so you can make something. For instance, you could there are laws in a civil sense that say something can't be done, but then the government doesn't fund the organization to be able to enforce it. So it's effectively decriminalized, although they don't call it that.
And so decriminalization could not, by the letter of it, you're not legalizing it. You're not legalizing
it. Now, 8 states have, but the others have decriminalized it, meaning they reduced the penalties so much to where, and on first-time offenses, there's really no penalty for it. But there will be a record of it, so because at some point it's a second time offense, then it goes from there. And you talked about, I think you mentioned DWI.
Yeah.
There is a progressively increased penalty for first, second, and third. Where you lose your license and then you lose it permanently, and then jail time and things like that. It gets more and more serious.
Right.
And things like alcohol and drug use and things like that. Obviously, there is a cumulative effect that changes from person to person. Curiously, while I was waiting at the top of the hour, Fox News reported the heinous crime in Chicago that the perpetrators were drinking and smoking marijuana when they did this. So
you see, Counselor, let me ask you this. Now, since you mentioned that. Now, are they in saying that? Are they mounting some type of defense for these guys?
I don't know. Illinois is one of the states that's decriminalized it, not legalized it, but decriminalized it. So, I don't know about that. Whether drugs and alcohol, they can be an aggravating circumstance, and that could play. Some of our laws, criminal laws, and it's not my area of practice,
right.
Just for general knowledge, some laws are made worse when they're called aggravated crimes because it's done in another crime. You're in the commission of another crime. For instance, a murder that's committed during an armed robbery is aggravated. Then that makes it first degree, and that's where the death penalty comes into play. And sometimes they'll say, well, that's racist because blacks are on death row. Well, if they rob a liquor store and shoot the clerk, well, they committed a murder in the midst of another felony.
And quite frankly, friend, it doesn't matter who did it, whether he's white or black.
Whereas if a rich white doctor poisons his wife,
he should be on death row.
It's not going to be first-degree murder by definition, but it's not because they favored him because he's a rich white doctor.
Exactly.
It's because he didn't have an aggravating circumstance. Well, if we decriminalize a lot of these drug laws, then you won't be able to say, well, they did something while they were high. It's aggravating, and you'll just get them for an auto accident, and it won't be aggravated. And so you can't get some of the more serious charges. So there can be some repercussions in the sentencing and other effects on other laws.
There's the music, Mark. I got to go right there.
Okay.
But listen, man, I certainly do appreciate you bringing and shedding some light on that. I'll be back with more in just a minute. I'm CL.
Like a rock.
CL back here on the home stretch of the CL Bryant Show. Listen, if you want to have something unique, go to refreshingliberty.com. Refreshingliberty.com. There is a very, very nice tumbler that's out there right now that you can have. Go to refreshingliberty.com. It has all of the presidents on it, including the future 45th president of the United States, Donald J. Trump. And it's a keepsake item. And you want to have this, refreshingliberty.com. Now, back to what we were talking about here. Now, I had Attorney Mark on the program just in the last segment, and we were talking about decriminalization. And what sparked this conversation is something that I saw. I think it was Newsmax or something. I may have seen that, or somebody sent it to me. Whatever. Anyway, Governor Jerry Brown, California, Sacramento, capital of California, signed into law Senate Bill 1322. And it decriminalizes, and that's an important word, it decriminalizes prostitution for minors by preventing law enforcement from arresting people under 18 for soliciting sex or loitering with intent to commit prostitution. Now, I am of the mind that this will only increase the activity, and it will cause those who are in the trade to recruit young men and women, children under 18, into the trade, because they can simply say to them, don't worry, if the cops approach you, you don't have to worry, because you can no longer be arrested as a minor for soliciting the way you have been culpable for soliciting. That increases the chances of a young person taking the chance, because there is no longer criminalization for it. I understand the argument that the people who are bringing it forward are making, that too many young people are unduly criminalized early on in their years because of making some type of mistakes. I understand what they're saying, but don't you want in place some kind of deterrent like that? Don't you want to say this is wrong, and if you do it, this is the consequence for it? You also increase the possibility of health problems in younger people, which over the long term, this is my estimation, you actually weaken the gene pool of those who come behind us by decriminalizing something that has been proven to weaken society. It has been proven to do that. And so my question was to the attorney was this, even though he answered it quite frankly. Decriminalization is not legalization. But let's look at some of the other things that we could decriminalize. If we decriminalized drunk driving, okay, then a person who has been kind of risque with driving behind the wheel, buzzed or flat out high, but he's never been caught. That teen who's never been in trouble for it, if you decriminalize that, don't you encourage the behavior? I think you do. I'll be back to wrap it up in just a minute.
We don't have no plastic LA friends.
I'm telling you that sometimes I do believe that people who come up with some of these laws, especially those on the left coast in California, they live in a bubble. We're going to be talking about that tomorrow with guests from Atlanta and also from Denver about that bubble. You know, there is an all-out opposition from Hollywood. We're going to talk about this tomorrow. From Hollywood. And I'm going to leave you with something tomorrow that will leave you rehashing and talking about it through the weekend. I promise you. I promise you. Be sure to tune in. Tell a friend. You can download the free CL Bryant app onto your iPhone or to your Android device. Follow me on Twitter at RevCLBryant, at RevCLBryant. And, of course, like us, like our Facebook page, The CL Bryant Show on Facebook. Folks, living in a bubble. A lot of these Hollywood types have been successful for a long time, since they were young. And sometimes, so many times, they think that everyone could have or should have the life that they have. I think that's what makes them so liberal, is that they've been out of touch with reality for so long, and once you reach a certain strata, a certain level of monetary success and notoriety, where you do have to sort of be away from us regular Joe folks, you lose the reality of what it is to live in the free world from day to day. I'm going to talk about that and why they really oppose Donald Trump the way they do. And what's so odd is that they oppose someone who is wealthier, most likely, than they are, no doubt, than most Hollywood stars. He has lived in that rarefied air, but yet he appeals to the common guy. Raised really good kids. Isn't that amazing? How those who consider themselves to be elite are against someone who could actually be elite if he chose to be an elitist. Strange days indeed. I want to thank God for bringing us to the close of yet another day. And I want to thank him for our men and women in uniform around the globe who defend our right to speak our mind. And until I'm able to talk to you again, I'm CL. And may God bless and keep you all.